Hi, I am Sophia. Welcome to True Payback, where story hits different. Hit subscribe, let's dive in.
The lawsuit arrived on a Wednesday morning via certified mail. I signed for the thick envelope, carried it to my home office, and opened it while my coffee cooled beside me. Marcus Chin versus Jennifer Chin. Complaint for fraud, misrepresentation, and financial elder abuse. I read the opening paragraph 3 times, certain I'd misunderstood something fundamental about reality. My brother Marcus was suing me for defrauding our late mother. According to the complaint, I had systematically manipulated and deceived Elizabeth Chin during her final years, extracting substantial financial resources through false representations of business success and fabricated investment opportunities. The lawsuit claimed I'd convinced Mom to give me over $400,000, money that rightfully should have been split between Marcus and me as inheritance. The problem with Marcus's lawsuit was simple. It was completely fictional. Mom had passed away 18 months ago after a brief battle with pancreatic cancer. In her final year, I'd been her primary caregiver, taking leave from my work to manage her medical appointments, coordinate her care, and simply be present. Marcus had visited twice. Once when she was diagnosed, once 3 days before she died. Mom's estate had been straightforward. She'd left her modest house to be sold and the proceeds split between us equally. Marcus received $127,000. I received $127,000. Her lawyer, Thomas Wright, had executed everything by the book. There were no hidden assets, no mysterious transfers, no disputed amounts. Except now Marcus claimed otherwise. He alleged that I'd received an additional $400,000 in loans and investments that Mom had hidden from him. Money that I'd obtained fraudulently and needed to return, with damages, interest, and legal fees. I called Thomas Wright immediately. "Jennifer, I heard about the lawsuit." His voice was grim. "Marcus's attorney contacted me last week demanding financial records. I've already sent him everything. Your mother's estate was crystal clear. There are no hidden transfers." "Then why is he doing this?" "Honestly, I think he's struggling financially and looking for a payout. The claims are baseless, but lawsuits are expensive to defend even when you're innocent. Many people settle just to avoid legal costs. I'm not settling. I didn't think you would. But be prepared, this will get ugly." He was right. Marcus had hired Gerald Davidson from Davidson Legal Associates, a mid-sized firm that specialized in estate disputes and financial litigation. I researched them immediately. The firm had a reputation for aggressive tactics and questionable ethics. 3 separate bar complaints in the past 5 years, all dismissed but documented. Their strategy seemed to be filing dramatic lawsuits with explosive claims, generating negative publicity for defendants, then pushing for settlements before cases reached trial. Gerald Davidson himself was 48 Harvard Law graduate, and exactly the kind of attorney who valued winning over truth. His website featured testimonials from clients praising his relentless advocacy and creative legal strategies. What the website didn't mention was that Davidson Legal Associates had been struggling financially. A contact in the legal industry sent me an article from a trade publication. The firm had recently lost 2 major clients and was seeking capital to fund an expansion into corporate law. They'd brought on several new partners but needed operational funding to support the growth. That's when I discovered something interesting. Davidson Legal Associates had recently secured $3.4 million in backing from an anonymous investor operating through Horizon Capital Management. The investment had been finalized 4 months ago, allowing the firm to lease new office space, hire additional staff, and market their expanded services. The anonymous investor was me. I should explain how a 29-year-old woman ended up with enough capital to anonymously back a law firm. When I was 22 and fresh out of college with a finance degree, I joined a small investment firm as a junior analyst. The pay was terrible, the hours brutal, but I learned everything I could about portfolio management, risk assessment, and market analysis. After 2 years, I left to start my own venture, a robo-advisory platform that democratized investment strategies for average people. It was pre-smartphone boom, early days of fintech, and my timing was accidentally perfect. The platform gained traction. Within 3 years, we had 200,000 users and caught the attention of a major financial institution. They acquired us when I was 27 for $68 million. My stake netted me $31 million after taxes and investor payouts. I could have retired. Instead, I used the capital to become an angel investor and venture capitalist. I backed early-stage companies, invested in commercial real estate, and built a diversified portfolio managed through several investment firms to maintain privacy. I also lived modestly, not out of any false humility, but because I'd watched too many lottery winners and sudden millionaires destroy themselves with lifestyle inflation. I kept my same apartment, drove a practical car, and focused on building sustainable wealth rather than displaying it. My family knew I'd had some success with my startup. They didn't know the scale. Mom had known I was comfortable financially. I'd quietly paid for her medical expenses and home care during her illness, but I'd never disclosed the full picture. She hadn't asked and I hadn't volunteered. Marcus knew even less. We'd never been close. He was 4 years older, worked in pharmaceutical sales, and had always measured success by visible markers: expensive cars, designer clothes, lavish vacations. When my startup sold, I'd mentioned it casually. He'd seemed uninterested, dismissing tech ventures as risky gambling. Now he was suing me, claiming I'd defrauded our mother to fund my lifestyle. The irony was almost amusing. My investment in Davidson Legal Associates had been purely strategic. Horizon Capital Management, one of my investment firms, had brought me the opportunity 6 months ago. The firm was expanding, needed operational capital, and offered a strong return structure with equity options. I'd reviewed their financials, met with their managing partners, anonymously through intermediaries, and approved the investment. It was professional, arm's length, and completely separate from any personal matters. Until my brother hired them to sue me. When I received the lawsuit, I'd immediately checked my investment portfolio. Davidson Legal Associates was still there, $3.4 million backing their expansion, my capital supporting their operations. I'd sat in my office for 20 minutes, processing the situation. My own money was funding the law firm attacking me with fabricated claims. The decision was simple. 2 months after receiving the summons, I sat in a conference room at Davidson Legal Associates for my deposition. Marcus sat across from me with Gerald Davidson. My attorney, Patricia Moore from a top litigation firm, sat beside me. A court reporter positioned her equipment at the head of the table. Gerald Davidson was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive suit, aggressive posture, practiced confidence. He spent the first hour asking invasive questions about my finances, my business dealings, and my relationship with Mom. Miss Chen, can you explain how a 29-year-old affords a lifestyle that includes international travel, luxury purchases, and significant charitable donations? I work in investment management and venture capital. Doing what exactly? I invest in early-stage companies and manage a diversified portfolio. And where did you get the capital for these investments? I sold a company I founded. For how much? The sale price was $68 million. My personal proceeds were approximately $31 million after taxes. The room went silent. Marcus's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and anger. Gerald Davidson's practiced confidence flickered. You're claiming you received $31 million from a business sale? His tone suggested I'd just admitted to robbing a bank. I'm not claiming it. It's documented fact. The acquisition was public record. I can provide financial statements, tax returns, and third-party verification. If you had $31 million, why would you need to defraud your mother for $400,000? I wouldn't. I didn't. The premise of this lawsuit is false. Marcus leaned forward. Then explain the money transfers Mom made to you in her final year. What money transfers? Gerald shuffled papers. We have evidence of multiple payments from Elizabeth Chen to Jennifer Chen totaling $180,000 in the 18 months before Mrs. Chen's death. I looked at Patricia. She nodded. Those were reimbursements, I said calmly. I paid for Mom's medical expenses, home health care, medications, and living costs during her illness. She insisted on reimbursing me from her savings. Every transaction is documented with receipts and medical bills. That's convenient. It's the truth. Thomas Wright, Mom's estate attorney, has all the documentation. I never asked for reimbursement. Mom insisted. And the total was $180,000, not $400,000. Where did your additional $220,000 come from? Gerald's jaw tightened. We believe there were additional unreported transfers. Based on what evidence? Based on the lifestyle discrepancy between your reported income and your spending patterns. My lifestyle is funded by $31 million in liquid assets and ongoing investment returns. Not fraud. The deposition continued for another 2 hours. Gerald asked increasingly desperate questions, trying to find inconsistencies in my story. There were none. Every answer was documented, verifiable, and completely legitimate. As we prepared to leave, Gerald made one final statement. Ms. Chen, the evidence suggests you're living well beyond any reasonable means for someone your age. No one your age earns what you claim without illegal activity. I met his eyes. Is that a legal argument or a personal opinion? It's reality. Then reality should be very interesting when we get to trial. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning, 3 months after the initial lawsuit. It was a procedural formality. Marcus's attorney would present his case for why the lawsuit should proceed to trial. My attorney would argue for dismissal and the judge would rule. I arrived early, dressed professionally but not ostentatiously. Patricia met me in the hallway. They're going to argue that the case has merit based on circumstantial financial discrepancies, she said. We'll counter with documentation of your legitimate income sources. The judge will likely let it proceed to discovery, but I'm confident we'll get it dismissed before trial. How long? 6 months, maybe a year. That's a long time to have this hanging over me. Unfortunately, that's exactly what they're counting on. They want you worn down enough to settle. We entered the courtroom. Marcus and Gerald Davidson were already seated at the plaintiff's table. Marcus wouldn't meet my eyes. Gerald had that same practiced confidence, shuffling papers with theatrical efficiency. Judge Sarah Brennan entered and we rose. She was in her late 50s, reputation for no-nonsense rulings and impatience with frivolous litigation. Gerald presented his case with dramatic flair. Your Honor, this case involves a clear pattern of financial manipulation and fraud. The defendant systematically deceived her elderly mother, extracting substantial funds through false pretenses. She claims to have legitimate income from business ventures, but the numbers simply don't add up for someone her age. Judge Brennan looked unimpressed. Does your client have actual evidence of fraud, or just suspicions based on age? We have evidence of financial transfers, lifestyle inconsistencies, and a pattern of behavior suggesting. Evidence or suspicion, Mr. Davidson? We believe discovery will reveal. I asked what you have now. Gerald pivoted. We have documented transfers totaling $180,000 from Elizabeth Chen to Jennifer Chen. We have evidence that Jennifer Chen lives a lifestyle far exceeding typical income for someone in their 20s. And we have concerns about the legitimacy of her claimed business success. Ms. Moore. Judge Brennan turned to Patricia. Patricia stood. Your Honor, every transfer Mr. Davidson mentioned was a reimbursement for medical expenses the defendant paid on behalf of her mother. We have receipts, medical bills, and documentation proving every dollar. As for the defendant's income, she sold a technology company for $68 million. The acquisition was public record, covered by business media, and fully documented by the SEC. Her success is legitimate, verifiable, and has nothing to do with her mother's estate. Judge Brennan looked at Gerald. Do you have evidence contradicting these claims? We believe the business sale figures are exaggerated. Do you have evidence? Not yet, but... Then we're done here. This lawsuit appears to be based on a family dispute over inheritance, not actual fraud. I'm inclined to dismiss with prejudice unless you can show me something substantive. That's when Gerald made his fatal argument. Your Honor, with respect, no one this defendant's age legitimately earns what she claims. The entire premise strains credibility. We believe discovery will prove financial impropriety. Judge Brennan's expression hardened. Mr. Davidson, I'm not in the habit of allowing lawsuits to proceed based on your personal skepticism about young people's success. Do you have actual evidence of fraud? We have circumstantial. Actual evidence, Mr. Davidson. Not age discrimination disguised as legal argument. Gerald's face reddened. Your Honor, my client believes. Your client's beliefs aren't evidence. Judge Brennan looked at me directly. Ms. Chen, do you have documentation of your business sale and current income sources? I stood. Yes, Your Honor. I can provide acquisition agreements, financial statements, tax returns for the past 7 years, and third-party verification from the acquiring company. Provide those to Mr. Davidson within 10 days. Mr. Davidson, if those documents support Ms. Chen's claims, I expect you to withdraw this lawsuit immediately. If you proceed without evidence, I'll consider sanctions for frivolous litigation. We're adjourned. The gavel fell. Gerald Davidson looked shaken. Marcus stared at the table, realizing perhaps for the first time that his lawsuit was collapsing. Patricia and I gathered our materials. As we left the courtroom, I pulled out my phone and sent a message to my wealth manager at Horizon Capital Management. Effective immediately, withdraw all capital from Davidson Legal Associates. Complete the transaction within 72 hours per investment agreement terms. No exceptions. I hit send. Gerald Davidson's phone started buzzing in his pocket. My wealth manager, David Kim, called me 30 minutes later. Jennifer, I received your message about Davidson Legal Associates. Just to confirm, you want to withdraw the full $3.4 million investment. Correct. This will likely cause significant operational problems for the firm. They've used the capital to lease new office space and hire staff. A sudden withdrawal. I understand the implications. Process the withdrawal. May I ask why? The firm is currently suing me for fraud based on fabricated claims. I don't fund entities that attack me with baseless litigation. David was silent for a moment. Understood. Per the investment agreement, we'll provide 72 hours notice. The withdrawal will be complete by Friday morning. Thank you, David. For what it's worth, their managing partners are going to panic. This represents nearly 60% of their expansion capital. That's unfortunate, but they should have done better due diligence on their clients' claims before filing frivolous lawsuits. We hung up. I went back to my regular workday, reviewing pitch decks from 2 promising startups, attending a board meeting via video conference, and managing my investment portfolio. I didn't think much about the chaos I'd just triggered. The first call came Wednesday evening. An unknown number that I let go to voicemail. Ms. Chen, this is Robert Harrison, managing partner at Davidson Legal Associates. We need to speak urgently about a financial matter. Please call me back immediately. I deleted the message. Thursday morning brought 3 more calls from the firm, all of which I ignored. Then Gerald Davidson called from his personal number. Jennifer, we need to talk. About what, Mr. Davidson? Are you calling to discuss your baseless lawsuit, or is this something else? Our firm's investor withdrew funding yesterday. $3.4 million pulled with 72 hours notice. We're trying to understand why. I'm sure it's just business. Investors withdraw capital all the time. The timing is suspicious. It happened right after our court hearing. Coincidence, I imagine. Was it you? His voice was tight. Are you the investor? I'm afraid I can't discuss my private investments. Confidentiality agreements, you understand. If you deliberately sabotaged our firm. Mr. Davidson, are you threatening me? Because that seems unwise given that you're currently suing me and losing. He was silent for a long moment. What do you want? I want you to withdraw the lawsuit against me. I can't do that. Marcus is my client. Then I can't help you with your financial crisis. Good luck finding replacement funding. I hung up. By Friday afternoon, the situation at Davidson Legal Associates had reached critical mass. The withdrawal had triggered a cascade of problems. Without the $3.4 million in backing, they couldn't cover their expanded office lease. Their new hires, brought on specifically for the corporate law expansion, were suddenly unsustainable. Vendors who'd extended credit based on their apparent financial stability were now demanding immediate payment. The legal community was small and gossipy. Within 48 hours, word had spread that Davidson Legal Associates was in financial crisis. Clients started pulling cases. The 2 junior partners who'd joined during the expansion started looking for other positions. My contact in the legal industry sent me updates. Gerald Davidson is desperately trying to find emergency funding. Every firm he's approached wants to know why his investor pulled out so suddenly. The optics are terrible. I felt no satisfaction, no vindication. Just a calm acceptance that actions have consequences. Saturday morning Marcus called. Jennifer, what did you do? I withdrew an investment that no longer aligned with my portfolio strategy. You destroyed Gerald's firm. They're talking about bankruptcy. I didn't destroy anything. I simply removed my financial support. If their business model couldn't survive without one investor, that's a structural problem, not my responsibility. You did this because of the lawsuit. I did this because funding entities that attack me with false claims is poor business strategy. It wasn't false. He stopped. Okay, maybe I was wrong about some details. But you should have shared your success with me. With the family. Instead you hid everything and let me think you were struggling. Why would you think I was struggling? Because you live in a normal apartment. You drive a regular car. You dress normally. You don't act like someone with $31 million. And that bothered you? It's weird, Jennifer. Normal people with that kind of money show it. Normal people with that kind of money often lose it. I chose substance over show. That's not weird, it's strategic. You made me look like an idiot. No, Marcus. You made yourself look like an idiot by suing your sister for fraud based on zero evidence and your assumptions about how wealthy people should behave. He was quiet for a long time. Gerald wants to settle. He's willing to drop the lawsuit if you'll reinvest in his firm. No. Jennifer. Marcus, I don't owe you or Gerald Davidson anything. You sued me with fabricated claims, put me through months of legal stress and tried to damage my reputation. Now you're facing consequences. That's not my problem to solve. You're my sister. Then act like I'm your sister. Drop the lawsuit because it's wrong, not because you want something from me. I can't afford to keep fighting this. Gerald says if we go to trial, you'll bury us in legal fees. Then drop it. And you won't reinvest in his firm? Marcus, even if I wanted to, which I don't, why would I invest in a law firm run by someone with such poor judgment that he filed a lawsuit without verifying basic facts? Gerald Davidson is a terrible attorney who took your case because he thought he could bully me into settling. That's not someone I'd ever fund. So his firm fails and it's all my fault. His firm fails because he built it on unstable financial practices and bad business decisions. You're just the catalyst that exposed the problems. Marcus hung up on me. Monday morning, Patricia called. Gerald Davidson just filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit with prejudice. It's over. No settlement? No settlement. Complete withdrawal of all claims. He's also requested that the dismissal be sealed, probably to minimize the public record of this disaster. Will the judge agree? Probably. Judge Brennan was already irritated with him. She'll likely approve just to clear her docket. I felt a weight lift that I hadn't fully acknowledged was there. Thank you, Patricia. You're welcome. For what it's worth, this is the strangest case I've handled. The plaintiff's attorney destroyed his own firm in the process of losing. Poor business decisions compound quickly. After we hung up, I sat in my office watching the city below. The lawsuit was over. My reputation was intact. My capital was returned. And my brother had learned an expensive lesson about making assumptions. Davidson Legal Associates filed for bankruptcy protection within 2 weeks. Gerald Davidson dissolved the firm, laid off all staff and returned to solo practice. His reputation in the legal community was damaged beyond immediate repair. The 2 junior partners who joined during the expansion filed a lawsuit against him for misrepresentation during recruitment. That case was still pending when I last checked. Marcus lost his case, his attorney, and any remaining moral high ground he'd imagined he had. We didn't speak for 3 months after the dismissal. When he finally called, his voice was different. Smaller, more careful. I'm sorry, he said simply. I was wrong. About everything. Why did you sue me, Marcus? What did you really think you'd accomplish? Honestly, I was jealous. You sold your company for life-changing money while I'm still struggling with mortgage payments and credit card debt. When Mom died and left us equal amounts, I convinced myself you must have taken more. That your success couldn't be legitimate. That someone had to have been cheated for you to have what you have. That says more about you than it does about me. I know. I've been thinking about it a lot. I measured success by what people could see, cars, clothes, houses, and assumed you were struggling because you didn't display wealth. When you showed up to Mom's funeral in regular clothes driving a Honda, I thought you were broke. I created an entire narrative that wasn't real. You sued me based on that narrative. I did. And I destroyed Gerald's firm, damaged my relationship with you and spent $30,000 in legal fees I couldn't afford. All because I couldn't accept that my little sister was more successful than me. That's not success, Marcus. That's insecurity. I know that now. We talked for another 20 minutes. The conversation was awkward, stilted, but genuine. Marcus was trying at least to understand where he'd gone wrong. Before we hung up, he asked one final question. Would you ever consider helping me? Not money. I'm not asking for money. But advice. I'm drowning financially and I don't know how to fix it. I thought about it carefully. I'll connect you with a financial advisor. Someone who specializes in debt management and basic investing. What you do with that information is up to you. Thank you. Marcus, don't sue your family members based on assumptions. And don't measure your worth by comparison to others. Those are the fastest paths to destroying your life. Learned that the hard way. I'm 30 years old now. My portfolio has grown. I've backed 3 more successful startups and sold equity stakes in 2 others. I serve on 4 corporate boards and mentor young entrepreneurs through a program I quietly fund. Marcus and I maintain cordial distance. He followed through with the financial advisor, consolidated his debt and started rebuilding. We have dinner occasionally, awkward at first, now settling into something that resembles an adult sibling relationship. He never asks about my money. I never offer specifics. We talk about movies, current events, and occasionally mom. It's not close, but it's functional. Gerald Davidson sent me a letter 6 months after his firm's collapse. It was brief, handwritten, and surprisingly honest. You were right. I took your brother's case because I needed the fees and assumed you'd settle rather than fight. I made assumptions based on your age and appearance rather than facts. Cost me everything. I hope someday to rebuild my career with more integrity than I practiced before. I didn't respond. Some lessons don't need acknowledgement. The legal community occasionally references the case in hushed conversations. The lawsuit that destroyed the plaintiff's attorney instead of the defendant. It's become a cautionary tale about due diligence, frivolous litigation, and the dangers of underestimating opponents based on age or appearance. I continue living quietly, investing strategically, and building sustainable wealth. The people who need to know about my success know. Everyone else gets to make their own assumptions. And when those assumptions are wrong, that's not my problem to correct. I learned something valuable through this entire experience. Respect isn't something you demand or require. It's something people either choose to give you or they don't. And when they don't, you have every right to withdraw your support, financial or otherwise, and move on. My mother understood that. She never asked me to prove my success or justify my choices. She simply trusted that I knew what I was doing. I miss her every day. But I'm grateful she taught me that self-worth doesn't require external validation. That real success is measured by peace of mind, not public opinion. And that sometimes the best response to people who underestimate you is simply to let them discover the truth the hard way. My phone buzzes. Another startup pitch, another board meeting invitation, another opportunity to invest in someone who reminds me of my younger self. I open the email and start reading. Life continues. Success continues. And the people who matter know exactly who I am. Everyone else can keep guessing.